Monday, July 13th, 2026. Today's world news headline summary. 1. CNN. 1-1. U.S. forces strike Iranian military targets amid Strait of Hormuz standoff. Tensions in the Middle East have severely escalated into renewed military conflict as the United States and Iran clash over control of the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, recently launched extensive strikes against approximately 140 Iranian military targets, including missile and drone sites, radar systems, and naval capabilities. These operations were explicitly designed to degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping freely transiting the strategic waterway. In fierce retaliation, Iran declared the strait closed and fired missiles at U.S. Facilities located in neighboring Gulf states, such as Bahrain, Kuwait, and Oman, Iranian leaders view undisputed control over the strait as a vital strategic objective and possess significant leverage to disrupt global energy markets. Meanwhile, mediators from Qatar and Oman are desperately attempting to salvage a diplomatic resolution after the recent ceasefire agreement effectively collapsed. Vocabulary. Escalate. Verb. 악화되다, 격화되다. The border dispute could escalate into a full-scale war. Degrade. Verb. 저하시키다, 약화시키다. The airstrikes were intended to degrade the enemy's air defense system. Retaliation. Noun. 보복, 안갚음. The missile launch was in retaliation for the recent bombing. Strategic. Adjective. 전략적인. The strait is a strategic waterway for global oil shipments.
Objective. Noun. 목적, 목표. Our main objective is to stabilize the local economy. Leverage. Noun. 영향력, 지렛대. The country has significant leverage in the upcoming trade negotiations. Salvage. Verb. 어려운 상황에서 구조하다, 수습하다. The negotiators are trying to salvage the peace treaty. Collapse. Verb. 붕괴하다, 무너지다. The diplomatic talks collapsed after neither side would collapse. Transit. Verb. 통과하다, 수송하다. The cargo ship is currently transiting the canal. Undisputed. Adjective. 반박의 여지가 없는, 확고한. She is the undisputed champion of the tournament. 주. 시사 용어 해설. Strait of Hormuz. 호르무즈 해협. 중동의 페르시아만과 오만만을 연결하는 좁은 바닷길로 전 세계 원유 물동량의 약 20% 이상이 통과하는 핵심 군사 경제적 요충지입니다. 이 해협이 봉쇄될 경우 전 세계 에너지 시장과 경제에 치명적인 타격이 발생합니다. CENTCOM, US CENTCOM, Central Command, 미 중부사령부. 미국 국방부 산하의 통합 전투사령부 중 하나로 중동, 이집트, 중앙아시아 지역의 미군 군사작전을 총괄하는 기관입니다.
1-2. Prominent. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham dies at 71. Longtime Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has tragically passed away at the age of 71 following a brief and sudden illness. Representing South Carolina in the U.S. Congress since 1995, Graham was widely recognized as one of Washington's most prominent foreign policy hawks and a staunch, unwavering ally of Israel. President Donald Trump paid heartfelt tribute to Graham, describing him as one of the greatest people and senators I have ever known. His unexpected death has sent profound shockwaves through the political world, given his immense legislative influence in shaping U.S. foreign policy and his close relationships with various world leaders. Colleagues from both sides of the political aisle, alongside international figures like Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, have expressed their profound grief over the loss of a dedicated public servant. Vocabulary. Prominent. Adjective. Jaminan. 중요한. She is a prominent figure in the field of artificial intelligence. Sudden. Adjective. 갑작스러운. The sudden drop in temperature surprised the local farmers. Hawk. Noun. 미파, 강경론자. Foreign policy hawks are advocating for a stronger military response. Staunch. Adjective, 확고한, 충실한. He has always been a staunch supporter of human rights. Unwavering, adjective, 흔들림 없는, 확고한. The team showed unwavering commitment to their goal. Ally, noun, 동맹, 협력자. The two nations have been close allies for over a century. Tribute, noun, 헌사, 찬사. The concert was organized as a tribute to the late musician. Shockwave, noun, 충격파, 파장. The resignation of the CEO sent shockwaves through the industry. Profound, adjective, 깊은, 심오한. The discovery has a profound impact on medical science. Legislative, adjective, 입법에, 입법부에. The senator proposed several key legislative reforms this year. 시사 용어 해설. hawk, 매파. 정치나 외교에서 무력 사용이나 강경한 수단을 선호하는 파벌을 의미합니다. 반대로 평화적이고 외교적인 타협을 중시하는 파벌은 비둘기파, dove라고 부릅니다. Both sides of the political aisle, 여야를 막론하고. 미국 의회에서 좌석 배열이 가운데 복도, aisle를 기준으로 양당으로 나뉘어 있는 데서 유래한 표현으로 당파를 초월한 협력이나 공감대를 뜻합니다.
1-3. Lawmakers express alarm over evacuation plans for U.S. citizens in the Middle East. U.S. lawmakers have formally written to the State Department to express severe alarm over an apparent failure to adequately plan for the evacuation of U.S. citizens from the Middle East. Following the administration's military strikes against Iran, up to 1 million U.S. nationals residing in the region are reportedly facing significant safety risks. The rapid closure of much of the region's airspace and the cancellation of commercial transportation options have left citizens with very limited options to depart safely. Furthermore, several U.S. embassies in the region, including those in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, have been forced to close or temporarily evacuate diplomatic staff due to escalating threats. Critics argue that the government's reactive approach puts civilian lives in jeopardy and demand an immediate, comprehensive extraction strategy. Vocabulary: alarm, noun, pronoun, 보호, 경고. The sudden economic downturn caused widespread alarm. Adequately, adverb, 적절히, 충분히. Ensure that you are adequately prepared for the difficult exam. Evacuation, noun, 대피, 철수. The strict evacuation protocol saved many lives during the flood. Reside, verb, 거주하다. Many foreign diplomats reside in this quiet neighborhood. Cancellation, noun, 취소. The blizzard led to the cancellation of all outbound flights. Depart, verb, 떠나다, 출발하다. The train is scheduled to depart from platform 3. Jeopardy, noun, 위험. The scandal put his long political career in serious jeopardy. Comprehensive, adjective, 포괄적인, 종합적인.
The committee published a comprehensive report on urban poverty. Extraction, noun phrase, 출, 추출. The military planned a daring extraction of the hostages. Reactive, adjective, 수동적인, 반응하는. A proactive approach is often better than a merely reactive one. 시사 용어 해설. State Department, 미 국무부. 미국의 외교 정책을 총괄하는 정부 부처로 한국의 외교부에 해당합니다. 해외에 거주하는 자국민 보호 역시 국무부의 주요 임무 중 하나입니다. BBC 2-1, UK politics. Will the next Prime Minister resolve the cost of living crisis? As the UK grapples with a persistent and painful cost of living crisis, public attention has intensely focused on Andy Burnham, who is widely anticipated to become the next Prime Minister. In a high-profile panel discussion hosted by BBC Radio 4, prominent experts and former ministers scrutinized whether Burnham possesses the necessary fiscal policy tools to alleviate the severe financial strain on British households. Panelists weighed the potential impacts of proposed government interventions against the harsh realities of global inflation and soaring energy prices. Resolving this multifaceted economic emergency will require not only domestic structural reforms, but also an adept handling of volatile international supply chains. The incoming administration undoubtedly faces an uphill battle to restore economic stability while fulfilling lofty promises to a frustrated electorate. Vocabulary: persistent, adjective, 긴질긴, 지속적인. Persistent rain over the weekend caused severe flooding. Anticipate, verb, 예상하다, 기대하다. We anticipate a significant increase in sales this quarter.
Scrutinize, verb, 면밀히 조사하다.
The auditor will scrutinize all the financial records of the company. Fiscal, adjective, 재정의, 회계의. The government needs to adopt a more responsible fiscal policy. Alleviate, verb, 완화하다, 경감하다. The new policy aims to alleviate traffic congestion in the city center. Strain, noun, 부담, 중압감. The pandemic placed an enormous strain on the healthcare system. Soaring, adjective, 치솟는, 급상승하는. Consumers are complaining about the soaring cost of fresh produce. Multifaceted, adjective, 다면적인, 복합적인. Climate change is a multifaceted problem requiring global cooperation. Adept, adjective, 능숙한. She is highly adept at managing large teams under pressure. Electorate, noun, 유권자. The candidate spent months trying to appeal to the younger electorate. 다, 시사용어 해설. Cost of living crisis, 생계비 위기. 물가, 인플레이션이 상승하는 속도에 비해 임금이나 소득이 오르지 않아 대다수 국민들의 실질적인 구매력이 떨어지고 생활고를 겪게 되는 경제적 위기 상황을 말합니다. Fiscal policy, 재정정책. 정부가 세금을 거두고 예산을 지출하는 방식을 통해 국가 경제를 조절하는 정책입니다. 금리를 조절하는 중앙은행의 통화정책, monetary policy와 짝을 이룹니다.
2-2. U.S.-Iran talks fail swiftly, raising fears of wider conflict. Diplomatic negotiations between the U.S. and Iran have collapsed swiftly, dealing a massive blow to hopes for a permanent ceasefire in the Middle East. Differing accounts have quickly emerged regarding the failure, but analysts pinpoint the main sticking points around Tehran's demand for immediate, sweeping sanctions relief and Washington's unwavering insistence on unimpeded access to the Strait of Hormuz. Experts suggest that expectations for a rapid, mutually beneficial deal were largely unrealistic, given the deeply entrenched mutual distrust and domestic political pressures in both nations. With diplomacy currently stalling, both sides have aggressively resumed military strikes, leading international observers to worry about broader geopolitical implications, including potential spillover into Lebanon. The failure to reach an agreement leaves the global community bracing for an extended period of brutal conflict and energy market uncertainty. Vocabulary: collapse, verb, 붕괴하다, 결렬되다. The peace talks collapsed due to unresolved border disputes. Blow, noun, 타격, 강타. The scandal dealt a severe blow to his political career. Sticking point, noun, 협상 등의 걸림돌, 난제. The issue of intellectual property rights was a major sticking point. Sweeping, adjective, 전면적인, 광범위한. The new CEO announced sweeping changes to the corporate structure. Relief, noun, 완화, 구제. The government announced tax relief for small businesses. Unimpeded, adjective, 가로막히지 않은, 방해받지 않는. The ship was granted unimpeded access to the international waters. Entrenched, adjective, 견고한, 확립된. The company suffers from a deeply entrenched culture of bureaucracy. Stall, verb, 교착 상태에 빠지다, 지연되다. The engine stalled and the car slowly came to a halt. Spillover, noun, 파급 효과, 확산. There were fears of a spillover of the conflict into neighboring states. Brace, verb, 대비하다. Citizens were advised to brace for the upcoming severe storm. Vocabulary: collapse, verb, 붕괴하다, 결렬되다. The peace talks collapsed due to unresolved border disputes. Blow, noun,
자격, 강타. The scandal dealt a severe blow to his political career. Sticking point. Noun. 협상 등의 걸림돌, 난제. The issue of intellectual property rights was a major sticking point. Sweeping. Adjective. 전면적임, 광범위한. The new CEO announced sweeping changes to the corporate structure. Relief. Noun. 완화, 구제. The government announced tax relief for small businesses. Unimpeded. Adjective. 가로막히지 않은, 방해받지 않는. The ship was granted unimpeded access to the international waters. Entrenched. Adjective. 견고한, 확립된. The company suffers from a deeply entrenched culture of bureaucracy. Stall. Verb. 교착 상태에 빠지다, 지연되다. The engine stalled and the car slowly came to a halt. Spillover. Noun. 파급 효과, 확산. There were fears of a spillover of the conflict into neighboring states. Brace. Verb. 대비하다. Citizens were advised to brace for the upcoming severe storm.
2-3. UK Prime Minister faces tough questions while attending NATO summit. While UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer attended the crucial NATO summit in Turkey, Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy stepped in to face fierce interrogation during the weekly Prime Minister's Questions, PMQs. Lammy was aggressively challenged by Shadow Housing Secretary James Cleverly and other members of Parliament regarding pressing domestic issues. The tense parliamentary session highlighted the intense juggling act the current government must perform, balancing urgent domestic policies, such as housing and the cost of living, with critical international security commitments. Observers noted that the absence of the Prime Minister often emboldens the opposition to strike harder at perceived administrative weaknesses. Despite the pressure, the Deputy PM attempted to defend the administration's record robustly on the national stage. Vocabulary. Fierce. Adjective. 치열한, 맹렬한. The two companies are engaged in fierce competition for market share. Interrogation. Noun. 신문, 질문. The suspect remained silent during the intense police interrogation. Pressing. Adjective. 시급한, 긴급한. Climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time. Juggle. Verb. 고개하듯 다루다, 요리조리 맞추다. Working mothers often have to juggle career and family responsibilities. Urgent. Adjective. 긴급한. The patient requires urgent medical attention to survive. Commitment. Noun. 약속, 헌신, 공약. The company has a strong commitment to environmental sustainability. Embolden. Verb. 대담하게 만들다. The recent victory emboldened the rebels to launch another attack. Robustly. Adverb. 강력하게, 튼튼하게. The economy has grown robustly despite the global recession. Absence. Noun. 부재, 결석. In the absence of the manager, the assistant will make the decisions. Opposition. Noun. 야당, 반대. The political opposition strongly criticized the new tax law. PMQs. Prime Minister's Questions. 영국 하원에서 매주 수요일에 열리는 총리 대정부 질문 시간입니다. 야당 당수와 의원들이 총리를 향해 국정 전반에 대해 날카로운 질문을 던지고 총리가 즉각 답변하는 영국 민주주의를 상징하는 치열한 토론장입니다. Shadow Cabinet, 그림자 내각, 예비 내각. 영국과 같은 의원 내각제 국가에서 야당이 정권을 잡을 경우를 대비해 미리 구성해두는 내각입니다. 기사에 등장한 Shadow Housing Secretary는 야당 소속으로 정부의 주택 정책을 견제하고 비판하는 역할을 맡습니다.
3.1. Australia confirms H5 bird flu detections in wild birds. Australia has officially confirmed a total of 13 detections of the high pathogenicity H5 avian influenza in wild birds as of July 12, 2026. The identified cases are distributed across Western Australia, South Australia, and New South Wales, raising minor environmental concerns. Despite these localized detections in wildlife, agricultural authorities have emphasized that there is currently no evidence of infection within the commercial poultry sector or the broader agriculture industry. Furthermore, health officials state the risk to human health remains exceedingly low, and there have been no reports of mass mortality events among animal populations. The Australian government is maintaining stringent biosecurity surveillance and strongly urges the public to avoid physical contact with sick or dead birds and to report any sightings immediately to the emergency hotline. Vocabulary. Detection. Noun. 발견, 간파.
Early detection of the disease is crucial for effective treatment. Pathogenicity. Noun. 병원성, 병을 일으키는 능력. The virus is known for its high pathogenicity among avian species. Poultry. Noun. 가금류, 닭, 오리 등. The local farm supplies fresh poultry and eggs to the market. Mortality. Noun. 폐사율, 사망률. The drought caused high mortality among the wildlife population. Stringent. Adjective. 엄격한. The factory must comply with stringent environmental regulations. Surveillance. Noun. 감시, 감독. The area is under continuous surveillance to prevent illegal dumping. Urge. Verb. 촉구하다, 강력히 권고하다. The health department urges citizens to get vaccinated before winter. Sighting. Noun. 목격. There have been numerous sightings of a rare leopard in the forest. Localized. Adjective. 국지적인, 특정 지역에. The heavy rainfall was highly localized to the coastal towns. Exceedingly. Adverb. 극도로, 대단히. The new quantum computer processes data exceedingly fast. 시서 용어 해설. High pathogenicity, 고병원성. 바이러스나 세균이 숙주, 동물이나 사람에게 침입했을 때 심각한 질병을 일으키거나 높은 폐사율을 유발하는 치명적인 성질을 뜻합니다. 특히 조류 독감, avian influenza에서 고병원성, HPAI는 전염 속도가 빠르고 가금류 농가에 치명적인 경제적 타격을 줍니다. Biosecurity, 생물 보안. 질병이나 해충이 사람, 동물, 식물로 퍼지는 것을 막기 위한 예방 조치와 관리 체계를 의미합니다. 공항에서의 동식물 검역 등이 이에 해당합니다.
3-2. Australia to roll out digital international arrival cards. Following a highly successful trial period, Australian border authorities have announced the widespread rollout of digital international arrival cards across all international gateways. Over the next 18 months, this modern electronic system will systematically replace the traditional, cumbersome paper-based documentation. The primary objective is to significantly streamline the immigration and customs processes, thereby reducing notoriously long wait times for exhausted travelers. Experts believe that this digital transition will simultaneously enhance border security by facilitating faster, more accurate data processing. This technological upgrade represents a major leap forward in providing a seamless, modernized experience for both tourists and returning residents. Vocabulary. Rollout. Noun. 신상품 제도 등의 첫 공개, 도입. The company announced the global rollout of its new software update. Gateway. Noun. 관문, 출입구. The airport serves as the primary gateway for international tourists. Systematically. Adverb. 체계적으로. The team is systematically analyzing the vast amount of data. Cumbersome. Adjective. 크고 무거운, 번거로운. Carrying the cumbersome equipment up the mountain was exhausting. Streamline. Verb. 간소화하다, 능률화하다. We need to streamline our production process to cut costs. Notoriously. Adverb. 악명 높게. The city is notoriously crowded during the summer festival season. Simultaneously. Adverb. 동시에. The translator spoke simultaneously as the politician delivered his speech. Facilitate. Verb. 용이하게 하다, 촉진하다. Good lighting can greatly facilitate nighttime driving. Leap. Noun. 도약, 큰 발전. The invention of the internet was a giant leap for human communication. Seamless. Adjective. 매끄러운, 문제없는. The transition from the old system to the new one was completely seamless. 시사용어 해설. Customs. 세관. 국가의 국경을 통과하는 물품, 수화물, 화물 등에 대해 세금을 매기거나 불법 물품을 단속하는 정부기관입니다. 해외여행 시 입국장에서 흔히 거치는 절차입니다. Number 3. Police investigate suspicious house fire in Woodville Gardens South. South Australian police are actively investigating a highly suspicious house fire that erupted in Woodville Gardens on Sunday evening. Emergency responders were dispatched after reports indicated a fire starting in the garage of a 2-story townhouse on Humphreys Terrace. Although firefighters were able to swiftly extinguish the blaze before it completely consumed the adjoining property, the primary residence suffered extensive structural damage. The neighboring house also sustained noticeable smoke and water damage during the intense suppression efforts. Western District Police and specialized fire cause investigators are treating the incident as suspicious and have urged anyone with relevant information to contact Crime Stoppers. Vocabulary. Suspicious. Adjective. 의심스러운, 수상한.
The guard noticed a suspicious package left unattended in the lobby. Erupt. Verb. 화산등이 분출하다. 사건이 발발하다. Violence erupted in the streets following the controversial court verdict. Dispatch. Verb. 파견하다. 발송하다. The headquarters will dispatch a team of experts to the disaster zone. Swiftly. Adverb. 신속하게. The eagle swooped down swiftly to catch its prey. Extinguish. Verb. 불을 끄다. It took the firefighters 3 hours to completely extinguish the wildfire. Adjoining. Adjective. 인접한. 서로 붙어있는. We requested 2 adjoining hotel rooms for our family vacation. Extensive. Adjective. 광범위한. 대대적인. The hurricane caused extensive damage to the coastal towns. Structural. Adjective phrase. 구조적인. The old bridge requires immediate structural repairs to prevent a collapse. Sustain. Verb. 피해 등을 입다. 지속하다. The driver sustained severe injuries in the car accident. Suppression. Noun. 진압. 억제. The brutal suppression of the protests drew international condemnation. 시사용어 해설. Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers. 호주, 미국 등 여러 국가에서 운영되는 익명 범죄 신고 프로그램입니다. 시민들이 경찰에 직접 신분을 밝히지 않고도 범죄 관련 정보를 제보할 수 있도록 돕는 시스템입니다.
4. The Korea Times. 4.1. President pledges $100 million to Ukraine at NATO summit. During the high-stakes NATO summit held in Turkey, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung pledged $100 million in aid to Ukraine during his first official bilateral meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky. This significant financial commitment underscores South Korea's firm dedication to expanding its role as a pivotal, responsible global security partner. By actively participating in the summit alongside other Indo-Pacific nations, Seoul aims to strengthen its strategic alliances in the face of growing geopolitical instability. The administration is also strategically leveraging this major diplomatic platform to promote South Korea's rapidly growing defense industry to NATO member states. Defense experts view this proactive engagement as a critical step in successfully adapting to a NATO-aligned defense ecosystem and securing future contracts. Vocabulary. High stakes. Adjective. 큰 이권이 걸린. 중대한. The politicians met for a high-stakes negotiation to avert a war. Pledge. Verb. 약속하다. 맹세하다. The government pledged to reduce carbon emissions by 2030. Bilateral. Adjective. 양자의. 쌍방의. The 2 leaders signed a bilateral trade agreement yesterday. Underscore. Verb. 강조하다. 밑줄을 긋다. The recent crisis underscores the need for better emergency planning. Pivotal. Adjective. 중추적인. 핵심적인. Education plays a pivotal role in a child's psychological development. Leverage. Verb. 이점 등을 활용하다. The company will leverage its extensive network to enter new markets. Proactive. Adjective. 주도적인. 적극적인. A proactive approach to health can prevent many serious illnesses. Engagement. Noun. 참여. 관여. The local council encourages public engagement in urban planning. Adapt. Verb. 적응하다. 맞추다. Animals must adapt to their changing environments to survive. Ecosystem. Noun. 생태계. 체계. The tech hub has created a vibrant ecosystem for startup companies. 시사용어 해설. NATO. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. 북대서양 조약기구. 미국과 유럽의 여러 국가가 맺은 강력한 군사동맹체로 회원국 중 한 나라가 공격을 받으면 전체에 대한 공격으로 간주해 공동 방어에 나섭니다. 최근에는 한국, 일본 등 아시아 태평양 국가들과도 협력을 확대하고 있습니다. 인도패시픽, 인도태평양. 인도양과 태평양을 아우르는 지역을 뜻하며 최근 외교 및 안보 전략에서 중국의 영향력을 견제하고 이 지역의 자유로운 해상 통행을 강조할 때 가장 널리 쓰이는 지정학적 개념입니다.
4.2. IMF upgrades Korea's growth outlook to 2.6%. The International Monetary Fund, IMF,
has significantly raised South Korea's economic growth outlook for this year to an impressive 2.6%. This notable upgrade represents the largest upward revision among 30 major global economies, primarily driven by robust export performance in highly competitive sectors like semiconductors. Despite this genuinely optimistic macroeconomic indicator, domestic economic sentiment remains somewhat mixed. The Korean won has yet to recover its strength against the US dollar, even amidst record-breaking exports, complicating the domestic financial landscape. Policymakers are now closely monitoring the situation to ensure that this strong export-led momentum effectively translates into broader domestic economic stability and job creation. Vocabulary. Outlook. Noun. 전망. The economic outlook for the next quarter is highly positive. Upgrade. Noun. 상향 조정, 개선. The analyst issued an upgrade on the technology company's stock. Revision. Noun. 수정, 교정. The budget requires a major revision before the final approval. Robust. Adjective. 튼튼한, 탄탄한. The nation boasts a robust economy driven by manufacturing exports. Genuinely. Adverb. 진정으로, 순수하게. She was genuinely surprised by the unexpected birthday party atmosphere. Macroeconomic. Adjective. 거시경제. Inflation and unemployment are key macroeconomic indicators. Sentiment. Noun. 정서, 체감, 경제. Consumer sentiment has improved slightly since the tax cuts. Landscape. Noun. 환경, 지형, 비유적. The political landscape has shifted dramatically after the election. Momentum. Noun. 원동력, 탄력. The campaign gained momentum after securing an important endorsement. Translate into. Verb phrase. 뭐의 결과로 이어지다. Hard work doesn't always translate into immediate financial success. 시사 용어 해설. IMF, International Monetary Fund, 국제통화기금. 세계 무역의 안정과 환율 유지를 목적으로 설립된 국제기구입니다. 각국의 경제 상황을 분석해 성장률을 예측하며 경제 위기에 처한 국가에 자금을 대출해주기도 합니다. Macroeconomic, 거시경제. 개별 기업이나 소비자의 활동을 보는 미시경제와 달리 국가 전체의 소득, 물가, 실업률, 무역 수지 등 경제 전반의 거대한 흐름을 분석하는 경제학적 관점을 말합니다.
4.3. Elderly poverty rate falls below 40% for the first time. In a significant demographic milestone, South Korea's elderly poverty rate has officially fallen below 40% for the first time. Experts attribute this positive shift to the government's multifaceted efforts to strengthen the social safety net, including the steady expansion of the basic pension system and the creation of state-sponsored public jobs for seniors. However, despite this encouraging domestic improvement, a stark reality remains. South Korea's elderly poverty rate is still the highest among all Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, member countries. Consequently, social advocates and economists are urging lawmakers to pursue fundamental pension reforms and more comprehensive welfare policies to secure a sustainable future for the aging population. Vocabulary. Demographic. Adjective. 인기통계하게. The company is targeting a younger demographic for its new product. Milestone. Noun. 이정표. 획기적인 사건. The invention of the smartphone was a major milestone in communication. Poverty. Noun. 빈곤. 가난. The charity works tirelessly to eradicate child poverty in the region.
Attribute A to B. Verb phrase. A의 원인을 B로 돌리다. The coach attributed the team's success to their rigorous daily training. Multifaceted. Adjective. 다면적인, 복합적인. Climate change is a multifaceted problem requiring global cooperation. Stark. Adjective. 냉혹한, 뚜렷한. There is a stark contrast between the rich and poor areas of the city. Advocate. Noun. 옹호자, 지지자.
She has been a passionate advocate for women's rights all her life. Fundamental. Adjective. 근본적인, 핵심적인. Freedom of speech is a fundamental human right. Comprehensive. Adjective. 포괄적인, 종합적인. The committee published a comprehensive report on urban poverty. Sustainable. Adjective. 지속 가능한. We need to transition to sustainable energy sources to protect the planet. 시사용어 해설. Social safety net. 사회 안전망. 실업, 빈곤, 질병, 노령 등 사회적 위험으로부터 국민을 보호하기 위해 국가가 마련한 복지제도, 연금, 건강보험, 실업급여 등 통틀어 이르는 말입니다. OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. 주로 선진국들이 모여 경제 발전과 세계 무역 촉진을 논의하는 국제기구입니다. 한국의 경제나 사회 지표를 평가할 때 비교 기준으로 자주 인용됩니다.
5. The Korea Herald, 5-1. Korea to open FX market around the clock from July. Starting in July 2026, South Korea will begin operating its onshore foreign exchange FX market around the clock, implementing a sweeping structural overhaul. This massive reform breaks away from the current restrictive system that effectively shuts down trading at 2 a.m. local time. The strategic extension aims to completely close time zone gaps, allowing global investors to trade the Korean won anytime and anywhere at transparent, real-time market prices. Government officials believe this change will eliminate the conservative proxy rates traditionally offered by banks during off hours, thereby offering the best pricing directly to institutions. Ultimately, this progressive reform accelerates the government's push toward the robust internationalization of the won and bolsters its ambitious bid for an upgrade to MSCI developed market status. Vocabulary. Onshore. Adjective. 영내이, 국내이. The government is offering tax breaks to attract onshore investments. Around the clock. Adverb phrase. 24 hours 내내, 쉬지 않고. The rescue team worked around the clock to find survivors. Overhaul. Noun. 전면 개편. 점검. The tax system requires a massive overhaul to ensure fairness. Restrictive. Adjective. 제한적인. 구속하는. The new law imposes highly restrictive measures on foreign imports. Transparent. Adjective. 투명한. 명백한. The charity promises to be completely transparent about how donations are spent. Proxy. Noun. Dairy. 대용무. The bank used a proxy rate during the hours when the market was closed. Progressive. Adjective. 진취적인, 진보적인.
The mayor is known for his progressive views on urban development. Accelerate. Verb. 가속하다. The new policy is designed to accelerate economic recovery. Bolster. Verb. 강화하다. 지지하다. We need to bolster our cybersecurity defenses against hacking. Bid. Noun. 입찰. 시도. 유치 노력. The city launched a successful bid to host the next Olympic Games. 시사 용어 해설. FX market. Foreign exchange market. 외환 시장. 서로 다른 국가의 통화, 돈을 사고 파는 시장입니다. 환율이 결정되는 곳이며 수출입 기업과 해외 투자자들에게 필수적인 금융시장입니다. MSCI Developed Market Status, MSCI 선진국 지수. 글로벌 투자은행인 모건 스탠리가 발표하는 주가 지수 중 선진국 그룹을 의미합니다. 이 지수에 한국 증시가 편입되면 전 세계의 거대한 패시브 투자 자금이 자동으로 유입될 수 있어 주가 부양에 큰 도움이 됩니다.
5-2. K-Culture meets A-Culture at Africa Day 2026 in Seoul. Africa Day 2026 is being celebrated grandly in Seoul, serving as a vibrant bridge to connect South Korea, Africa, and the broader global South through cultural exchange. The annual event commemorates the historic founding of the Organization of African Unity and highlights Africa's liberation, unity, and rich heritage. The Rwandan ambassador to Korea noted that the event provides a unique platform where K-culture will meet A-culture, African culture, fostering practical collaborations in music, fashion, and the creative industries.
From a diplomatic perspective, South Korea has aggressively intensified its outreach to African nations recently to secure critical minerals and build new economic partnerships. This cultural celebration effectively reflects the growing maturity and strategic importance of Africa-Korea relations beyond traditional diplomacy. Vocabulary. Grandly. Adverb. 성대하게, 웅장하게. The anniversary was grandly celebrated in the central square. Vibrant. Adjective. 활기찬, 생동감 넘치는. The city is famous for its vibrant nightlife and diverse cuisine. Commemorate. Verb. 기념하다.
A special monument was built to commemorate the fallen soldiers. Heritage. Noun. 유산. 전통. The ancient temple is an important part of our cultural heritage. Foster. Verb. 촉진하다, 육성하다. The program is designed to foster leadership skills among young people. Practical. Adjective. 실질적인, 실용적인. The workshop offered practical advice on how to start a small business. Aggressively. Adverb. 공격적으로, 적극적으로. The company is aggressively expanding its market share in Asia. Intensify. Verb. 강화하다, 심화시키다. The police decided to intensify their search for the missing child. Outreach. Noun. 봉사활동, 외교적 적극적 접촉. The ambassador's diplomatic outreach improved relations with neighboring countries. Maturity. Noun. 성숙도, 완숙함. His handling of the crisis showed great emotional maturity. 시사용어 해설. Global South. Global South. 주로 남반구나 북반구 저위도에 위치한 아프리카, 아시아, 중남미의 신흥국과 개발도상국들을 통틀어 일컫는 지정학적 용어입니다. 최근 국제 무대에서 이들의 발언권과 경제적 중요성이 급부상하고 있습니다. Critical Minerals, 핵심 광물, 전기차 배터리, 반도체 등 첨단 산업에 필수적으로 사용되나 공급망이 불안정하거나 특정 국가에 편중되어 있어 국가 안보 차원에서 관리해야 하는 희귀 광물, 리튬, 니켈, 코발트 등을 말합니다. 5.3. President departs for summit diplomacy in Turkey and Mongolia. President Lee Jae-min has departed for an important two-nation diplomatic trip, beginning with the NATO summit in Turkey and followed by a state visit to Mongolia. At the summit, invited by Secretary General Mark Rutte, Lee is scheduled to hold a series of strategic meetings with NATO leaders and the Indo-Pacific 4, IP4 partners, including Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. A primary objective of this European leg is to actively promote South Korea's defense industry as global security spending surges. Following the NATO engagements, President Lee will travel to Ulaanbaatar, marking the first visit by a South Korean president to Mongolia in 15 years. During this historic state visit, the two leaders aim to declare a golden era of bilateral relations and explore deep economic cooperation, particularly in critical minerals. Vocabulary. Depart. Verb. 출발하다, 떠나다. The flight is scheduled to depart at exactly 8 a.m. Diplomatic. Adjective. 외교의, 외교적인. The crisis was eventually resolved through diplomatic channels. State visit. Noun phrase. 국빈 방문. The Queen hosted a grand banquet during the President's state visit. Objective. Noun. 목적, 목표. Our main objective is to stabilize the local economy. Surge. Verb. 급증하다, 밀려들다. Online sales surged during the holiday shopping season. Engagement. Noun. 외교, 업무적 일정, 참여. The minister had to cancel all his public engagements due to illness. Mark. Verb. 기념하다, 나타내다. The ceremony marks the 50th anniversary of the university's founding. Era. Noun. 시대. The invention of the steam engine brought about a new industrial era. Bilateral. Adjective. 양자의, 쌍방의. The two leaders signed a bilateral trade agreement yesterday. Explore. Verb. 탐구하다, 모색하다. Scientists are exploring new ways to generate clean energy. 시사용어 해설. IP4, 인도-패시픽 4. 나토 정상회의의 파트너국으로 초청받는 아시아 태평양 지역의 4개국, 한국,
일본, 호주, 뉴질랜드를 지칭하는 외교 용어입니다. 나토가 유럽을 넘어 아시아 지역의 민주주의 국가들과 안보 협력을 강화하려는 의도를 보여줍니다. State visit, 외국 국가원수가 주최국 국가원수의 공식 초청을 받아 방문하는 것으로 외부 방문 중 가장 격식이 높고 예우가 각별한 방문 형태입니다.
6. CGTN 6-1. China advances science-based solutions to combat dust storms. As sand and dust storms increasingly threaten global public health, agriculture, and ecosystems, China is aggressively implementing advanced science-based solutions to combat the crisis. The China Meteorological Administration utilizes a highly sophisticated monitoring system that combines weather satellites and artificial intelligence to trace dust sources and calculate transport pathways across East Asia. This technological approach enables far more accurate early warnings, granting citizens and governments vital time for disaster preparedness. Recognizing that environmental challenges are inherently transboundary, China is also deepening international cooperation in the region. By actively sharing forecasting expertise and ecological restoration techniques with neighboring Central Asian countries, Beijing aims to build a comprehensive defense against climate-induced dust events. Vocabulary. Combat. Verb. 방지하다, 싸우다. The government launched a new campaign to combat cyberbullying. Implement. Verb. 실행하다, 도입하다. The school will implement a new curriculum starting next semester. Sophisticated. Adjective. 정교한, 고도화된. The laboratory is equipped with highly sophisticated medical scanners. Trace. Verb. 추적하다, 알아내다. Investigators are trying to trace the origin of the mysterious signal. Pathway. Noun. 경로. Deforestation is altering the natural pathways of migrating animals. Inherently. Adverb. 본질적으로, 선천적으로. Nuclear power is an inherently dangerous yet efficient source of energy. Transboundary. Adjective. 국경을 초월하는. Pollution in the river has become a transboundary environmental issue. Restoration. Noun. 복원, 복구. The ecological restoration of the wetlands will take several years. Comprehensive. Adjective. 포괄적인, 종합적인. The committee published a comprehensive report on urban poverty. Induce. Verb. 유발하다, 초래하다. Stress can induce severe headaches in many people. 시사 용어 해설. Transboundary. 국경을 초월하는. Trans. 가로지르는. 와 boundary. 경계의 합성어로 미세먼지나 황사, 기후변화처럼 한 나라에서 발생한 공해나 재난이 이웃 국가에까지 심각한 영향을 미치는 상황을 설명할 때 자주 쓰이는 국제 환경 외교 용어입니다. 6-2. Typhoon Bavi weakens after battering eastern China. Typhoon Bavi, once a super typhoon, has weakened into a tropical storm after violently slamming into eastern and southern China, forcing the evacuation of over nearly 2 million people. The storm, accompanied by severe flooding and violent winds, caused rivers and reservoirs to overflow across multiple provinces. In Hangzhou, Guangxi, the local jasmine flower industry, which produces a majority of the world's supply, suffered a catastrophic blow as floodwaters ruined entire plantations. Desperate farmers are currently washing mud from surviving plants, though market buyers are rejecting the damaged harvest due to poor quality. To assist with the arduous recovery, the central government has rapidly allocated 180 million yuan in disaster relief funding, while emergency teams clear waterlogged streets. Vocabulary. Weaken. Verb. 약화되다, 약해지다. The typhoon is expected to weaken as it moves over land. Violently. Adverb. 격렬하게, 맹렬히. The protesters clashed violently with the riot police. Slam into. Verb phrase. 뭐에 강하게 부딪히다, 강타하다. The runaway truck slammed into the concrete barrier. Overflow. Verb. 범람하다, 넘쳐 흐르다. The heavy rain caused the river to overflow its banks. Catastrophic. Adjective. 대참사에, 파멸적인. The hurricane had a catastrophic impact on the island's infrastructure. Plantation. Noun. 농장, 농원. The workers spend hours picking coffee beans on the vast plantation. Desperate. Adjective. 절망적인, 필사적인. The doctors made a desperate attempt to save the patient's life. Arduous. Adjective. 몹시 힘든, 고된. Climbing the highest peak in the Himalayas is an arduous task.
allocate. Verb. 할당하다, 배정하다. The government decided to allocate more funds to public education. Waterlogged. Adjective. 물을 잔뜩 머금은, 침수배. The football match was cancelled because the field was completely waterlogged. Tropical storm. 열대성 폭풍. 태풍이나 허리케인이 육지에 상륙하여 에너지를 잃고 풍속이 일정 기준 이하로 떨어졌을 때 부르는 기상 용어입니다. 비록 위력은 약해졌지만 여전히 많은 비를 내리기 때문에 방심할 수 없습니다.
6-3. Iran declares Strait of Hormuz closed following U.S. airstrikes. In a drastic escalation of Middle Eastern hostilities, Iran announced it is completely closing the Strait of Hormuz until further notice, in direct response to a massive new round of U.S. airstrikes. Following the declaration, Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards launched a barrage of missiles and drones targeting U.S. logistical centers and refueling facilities across neighboring Gulf nations, including Qatar, Oman, and Bahrain. Iranian officials emphatically warned that this strategic maritime passage is more important than dozens of atomic bombs and vowed to protect their territorial authority. In contrast, the U.S. military publicly dismissed Tehran's claims, insisting that Iran does not legally or physically control the strait and that commercial maritime traffic continues to flow. Nevertheless, global energy markets remain highly jittery over the prospect of an extended blockade. Vocabulary. Drastic. Adjective. 과감한, 극단적인. The company had to take drastic measures to avoid bankruptcy. Hostilities. Noun. 적대행위, 교정. Both sides agreed to cease hostilities during the religious holiday. Barrage. Noun. 일제사격, 집중공세. The celebrity faced a barrage of questions from the waiting reporters. Logistical. Adjective. 물류에, 병참에. Setting up the outdoor concert was a massive logistical challenge. Emphatically. Adverb. 단호하게, 강력하게. She emphatically denied any involvement in the financial scandal. Vow. Verb. 맹세하다, 다짐하다. The new president vowed to fight corruption in the government. Territorial. Adjective. 영토. The two countries have a long-standing territorial dispute over the island. Dismiss. Verb. 일축하다, 묵살하다. The manager quickly dismissed the intern's suggestion without consideration. Jittery. Adjective. 불안한, 신경질적인. Investors were feeling jittery about the recent stock market crash. Blockade. Noun. 봉쇄, 처당. The naval blockade prevented supplies from reaching the enemy port. 시사용어 해설. Revolutionary Guards. 이란 혁명수비대. 이란의 정규 군과는 별개로 존재하며 이슬람 체제를 수호하기 위해 만들어진 초법적인 최정예 군사 조직입니다. 이란 내 정치와 경제 전반에 막강한 영향력을 행사합니다. Logistical. 물류, 병참에. 군사작전이나 큰 행사를 치를 때 필요한 물자, 식량, 무기 등을 제때 알맞은 장소에 공급하고 관리하는 과정을 병착, logistics이라고 합니다.
Number 7. NHK World Japan. Number 7. 1. Japanese government drafts priority plan to combat record-high student suicides. In urgent response to record-high suicide rates among school-aged children, the Japanese government is drafting a priority plan heavily focused on robust prevention and support mechanisms. The revised social policy aims to identify highly vulnerable youths and alleviate their profound feelings of loneliness and isolation before a psychological crisis deepens. A notable proactive addition to the plan is the expansion of annual nationwide mental health surveys to explicitly include elementary and junior high students. Furthermore, acknowledging the modern trend that young people increasingly use generative AI as an initial source for personal advice, the government intends to develop digital guidelines. These tech-focused rules will ensure that AI queries concerning mental distress automatically redirect vulnerable users to professional, human-operated support services. Vocabulary. Priority. Noun. 우선순위, 최우선. Safety is our top priority in the construction of this building. Robust. Adjective. 탄탄한, 강력한. The software requires a robust security system to prevent hacks. Vulnerable. Adjective. 취약한, 상처받기 쉬운.
Elderly people are particularly vulnerable to extreme winter weather. Alleviate. Verb. 완화하다. 덜어주다. The medication helped to alleviate the pain in her joints. Isolation. Noun. 고립. 소외. Prolonged social isolation can severely damage mental health. Notable. Adjective. 주목할 만한. There has been a notable improvement in the patient's condition. Generative. Adjective. 생성하는. AI 등에서. Generative AI models can create realistic images from text prompts. Redirect. Verb. 방향을 바꾸다. 다시 연결하다. The website automatically redirects users to the secure login page. Distress. Noun. 고통. 괴로워. The charity provides aid to families in severe financial distress. Query. Noun. 질문. 문의. The customer service team responds to hundreds of queries a day. 시사용어 해설. Generative AI. 생성형 인공지능. 챗GPT처럼 사용자가 던진 질문이나 지시에 맞추어 텍스트, 이미지, 음성 등을 스스로 학습한 데이터를 바탕으로 새롭게 만들어내는 인공지능을 의미합니다. 최근 일본에서는 청소년들이 사람 대신 AI에게 우울감을 호소하는 현상이 늘고 있어 대책이 요구되었습니다.
7.2. NHK begins 24-hour shortwave broadcasts for Japanese nationals in Iran. In light of the severe deterioration of the geopolitical situation in the Middle East, NHK has urgently expanded its Japanese-language shortwave radio transmissions to a continuous 24-hour service. Following recent military attacks on Iran by the United States and Israel, local internet connectivity and international telephone services have become highly unstable or intentionally restricted. To overcome these severe communication blackouts, NHK World Japan Radio is broadcasting essential news and crucial safety advisories directly from transmitters in Japan to the affected region. Because shortwave radio signals can travel vast distances by bouncing off the ionosphere, they are considered significantly less susceptible to censorship or infrastructural damage by local authorities. This resilient broadcasting measure serves as a vital lifeline for Japanese nationals residing or traveling in conflict zones. Vocabulary. Deterioration. Noun. Aqua. 하락. The sudden deterioration in his health worried the doctors. Continuously. Adverb. 계속해서. 연속적으로. The factory operates continuously to meet the high demand. Unstable. Adjective. 불안정한. The political situation in the region remains highly unstable. Blackout. Noun. 정전. 통신 두절. The entire city experienced a massive power blackout last night. Advisory. Noun. 주의보. 권고문. The Weather Bureau issued a travel advisory due to heavy snow. Bounce. Verb. 반사하다. 튀다. The radio waves bounce off the atmosphere to reach distant places. Susceptible. Adjective. 민감한. 영향을 받기 쉬운. Older computers are highly susceptible to new virus attacks. Censorship. Noun. 검열. The strict government censorship prevents the publication of independent news. Resilient. Adjective. 회복력 있는. 탄력 있는. The economy proved resilient despite the global financial crisis. Lifeline. Noun phrase. 명줄. 생명선. The monthly government grant is a lifeline for many poor families. 시사용어 해설. Shortwave radio. 단파 라디오. 파장이 짧은 전파를 이용하는 라디오로 지구 대기권 상층부 전리층에서 반사되어 국경을 넘어 수천 킬로미터 밖까지 도달할 수 있습니다. 위성이나 해저 케이블이 파괴된 전시 상황에서도 방송을 들을 수 있어 안보 목적의 국제 방송에 필수적입니다.
73. Double typhoon threat. Typhoons number 7 and 8 approach Japan. Japan is currently bracing for a rare and destructive double typhoon scenario as typhoons number 7 and number 8 simultaneously advance toward the archipelago. Typhoon number 7, named Maikara, is classified as a very strong storm, with central pressures dropping to 965 HPA, bringing devastating winds and torrential rainfall to Okinawa before heading toward the Kanto region. Complicating the disaster response, Typhoon number 8 is following closely behind,
meaning the severe weather threat will not immediately dissipate after the first storm passes. Authorities are urging residents to prepare emergency kits, secure loose outdoor items, and evacuate without hesitation if a level 4 danger warning is issued. Non-Japanese speakers are highly encouraged to use NHK World and official safety apps to receive life-saving disaster alerts in their native languages. Vocabulary. Brace. Verb. 대비하다. The coastal residents are bracing for the incoming hurricane. Destructive. Adjective. 파괴적인. The earthquake was one of the most destructive in the country's history. Simultaneously. Adverb. 동시에. The translator spoke simultaneously as the politician delivered his speech. Archipelago. Noun. 다도해. 군도. 섬들의 무리. The Philippines is a vast archipelago comprising thousands of islands.
Devastating. Adjective. 엄청난 피해를 주는, 파괴적인. A devastating fire swept through the historic downtown area. Torrential. Adjective. 억수같이 쏟아지는 비. Torrential rain flooded the streets within minutes. Complicate. Verb. 복잡하게 만들다. The new regulations will only complicate the application process. Dissipate. Verb. 소멸되다, 흩어지다. The thick morning fog began to dissipate as the sun rose. Hesitation. Noun. 주저, 망설임. She agreed to help us without any hesitation. Alert. Noun. 알림, 경보. My phone vibrated with a flash flood alert. HPA, 헥토파스칼. 기압을 재는 단위입니다. 태풍은 중심 기압이 낮을수록 주변의 공기를 강하게 빨아들이기 때문에 풍속이 빨라지고 위력이 강해집니다. 보통 950, 970 HPA 정도면 매우 강력한 태풍으로 분류됩니다.
8. AlJazeera.com. 8-1. Former Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, passes away. Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, the former emir, widely revered as the primary architect of modern Qatar, has passed away at the age of 74. Ruling the Gulf nation from 1995 until his rare voluntary abdication in 2013, he masterfully leveraged the country's vast natural gas resources to transform Qatar from a quiet peninsula into a globally relevant political and economic powerhouse. Under his visionary leadership, Qatar significantly expanded its international soft power, notably by launching the Al Jazeera media network and mediating numerous complex regional conflicts. Following the official announcement of his death, global leaders and international organizations have offered their profound condolences. They unanimously praised his transformative legacy and mourned the monumental loss alongside the Qatari people. Vocabulary. Revere. Verb. 존경하다, 숭배하다. The professor is highly revered for his contributions to physics. Architect. Noun. 설계자, 창조자. He was the chief architect of the country's new economic reform. Abdication. Noun. 퇴위, 사임. The king's unexpected abdication led to a period of political turmoil.
Eos. Masterfully. Adverb. 능숙하게, 훌륭하게. The chef masterfully blended the spices to create a unique flavor. Leverage. Verb. 활용하다. We must leverage our existing technology to develop better products. Peninsula. Noun. 반도. Italy is a large peninsula extending into the Mediterranean Sea. Mediate. Verb. 중재하다. The UN stepped in to mediate a ceasefire between the warring factions. Profound. Adjective. 깊은. 심오한. His speech had a profound effect on the young audience. Unanimously. Adverb. 만장일치로. The board of directors unanimously approved the merger. Monumental. Adjective. 엄청난. 기념비적인.
Writing the encyclopedia was a monumental task for the scholars. 시사용어 해설. 에미르, 에미르, 아미르. 아랍 및 이슬람권 국가에서 사용하는 칭호로 보통 국왕, 토후, 군주 또는 국가 지도자를 의미합니다. 카타르, 쿠웨이트, 아랍에미리트, UAE 등의 통치자를 부를 때 사용됩니다. 소프트 파워, 소프트 파워. 군사력이나 경제적 제재 같은 강제력, 하드 파워가 아니라 문화, 외교, 미디어, 스포츠 등을 통해 타국의 마음을 얻고 국제사회에서 매력과 영향력을 행사하는 능력을 의미합니다.
8.2. U.S. launches new wave of strikes against Iran. The United States has dramatically escalated the Middle East conflict by launching a fresh wave of early morning airstrikes aimed directly at degrading Iran's military capabilities. According to U.S. Central Command, these targeted operations successfully struck roughly 140 Iranian military sites, deliberately focusing on drone launch pads, missile silos, ammunition depots, and advanced surveillance systems. This aggressive military posture was adopted to hold Iranian forces accountable for recent disruptions to civilian mariners and commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. The tit-for-tat exchanges of fire have completely shredded a fragile Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, signed last month, which was supposed to bring an immediate halt to hostilities. The international community is now deeply alarmed that these relentless counterstrikes could reignite a massive, devastating regional war. Vocabulary. Degrade. Verb. 저하시키다, 약화시키다. The harsh weather conditions will eventually degrade the building's exterior. Deliberately. Adverb. 의도적으로, 고의로. The witness deliberately gave false information to the police. Depot. Noun. 창고, 보관소. The military depot stores vast amounts of emergency supplies. Accountable. Adjective. 책임이 있는. Politicians must be held accountable for their campaign promises. Disruption. Noun. 혼란, 중단. The heavy snow caused severe disruption to the public transport system. Tit for tat. Adjective. 보복에, 눈에는 눈시게. The two gangs engaged in a series of violent tit-for-tat attacks. Shred. Verb. 갈기갈기 찢다, 파기하다. I need to shred these confidential documents before leaving the office. Fragile. Adjective. 깨지기 쉬운, 취약한. The antique vase is incredibly fragile and must be handled with care. Relentless. Adjective. 끈질긴, 가차없는. The relentless heat made it impossible to work outside. Reignite. Verb. 다시 불붙이다, 재점화하다. His speech helped reignite the passion of the weary protesters. 시사용어 해설. MOU. Memorandum of Understanding or 양해각서. 정식 조약이나 계약을 맺기 전에 양측이 합의한 내용을 기록해두는 문서입니다. 법적인 구속력이 약한 편이어서 상황에 따라 쉽게 파기되기도 합니다. Tit for tat. 눈에는 눈, 이에는 이. 상대방이 나에게 해를 가하면 똑같은 방식으로 갚아준다는 뜻으로 외교나 무역 전쟁, 군사적 보복 상황에서 매우 자주 쓰이는 영단어입니다. 8.3. Typhoon Bavi slams into eastern China, causing mass evacuations. Tropical storm Bavi, originally classified as this year's strongest typhoon to hit China, violently slammed into the eastern coastal provinces, bringing torrential rain and violent winds. The immense storm, which meteorologists noted was roughly the size of France, forced the emergency evacuation of nearly 2 million residents from vulnerable areas. Upon making landfall near Wenzhou, the ferocious winds felled over 1,300 trees, tearing many entirely out by their roots and causing severe urban flooding. The extreme weather caused massive disruptions across China's eastern transport network, leading to the cancellation of hundreds of flights and thousands of train services. Forecasters have issued stern warnings that the storm system will continue to unleash heavy rains over northern and eastern China as it slowly moves toward the Yellow Sea. Vocabulary. Classify. Verb. 풍요하다. The novel is difficult to classify into a single literary genre. Coastal. Adjective. 해안에.
The small coastal village relies heavily on fishing and tourism. Immense. Adjective. 거대한, 어마어마한.
Building the Great Wall of China required an immense amount of labor. Landfall. Noun. 태풍 등의 상륙. The hurricane made landfall near the southern tip of Florida. Ferocious. Adjective. 맹렬한, 사나운. The ferocious lion roared loudly, scaring the tourists. Fell. Verb. 나무를 베어 넘어뜨리다, 쓰러뜨리다. The loggers fell dozens of ancient trees in a single day. Uproot. Verb. 뿌리째 뽑다. The storm was strong enough to uproot large oak trees. Disruption. Noun. 혼란, 중단. A power outage caused severe disruption to the subway system. Stern. Adjective. 엄중한, 단호한. The teacher gave the noisy students a stern warning. Unleash. Verb. 강력한 힘 등을 촉발시키다, 쏟아내다. The dictator threatened to unleash the full power of his military. 시사용어 해설. Tropical storm, 열대성 폭풍. 태풍, typhoon, 중심 부근의 최대 풍속이 약해지면 열대성 폭풍으로 이름이 바뀝니다. 바람은 약해졌을지라도 머금고 있는 수증기량이 어마어마하기 때문에 내륙에 진입하면서 엄청난 폭우, torrential rain를 쏟아내어 홍수 피해를 일으킵니다.
9. CBC Canada. 9.1. Questions emerge after fatal charter boat sinking in BC. A heartbreaking maritime tragedy occurred off the coast of Richmond, BC, when a commercial charter fishing boat carrying 10 people abruptly sank in the Strait of Georgia. Fortunately, a retired airline captain and his wife heard the distress mayday call and courageously rescued 4 individuals by circling the debris and deploying a dinghy as a life raft. However, one of those rescued later succumbed to her injuries in the hospital, and the remaining 6 people, including the vessel's 22-year-old operator, remain missing and are officially presumed drowned. Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, and transport authorities are now launching a meticulous investigation into the company's maritime safety practices. Investigators are particularly focusing on whether the operational decisions made that day played a direct role in the catastrophic capsizing of the vessel. Vocabulary. Maritime. Adjective. 바다이, 해상이. The country has strict maritime laws to protect its coastal waters. Abruptly. Adverb. 갑자기, 돌연. The meeting ended abruptly when the fire alarm started ringing. Distress. Noun. 조난, 고통. The sinking ship sent out a distress signal to the Coast Guard. Deploy. Verb. 배치하다, 효율적으로 사용하다. The police decided to deploy additional officers to the festival. Succumb. Verb. 굴복하다, 부상 등으로 사망하다. The patient eventually succumbed to the rare viral infection. Presume. Verb. 추정하다, 간주하다. The missing climbers are presumed dead after the massive avalanche. Meticulous. Adjective. 꼼꼼한, 세심한. The detective conducted a meticulous search of the crime scene. Operational. Adjective. 운영상이, 운항이. The factory had to close temporarily due to operational issues. Catastrophic. Adjective. 대참사이, 파멸적인. The hurricane had a catastrophic impact on the island's infrastructure. Capsize. Verb. 뒤집히다, 전복되다. The small sailboat capsized during the sudden, violent storm. Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. 캐나다의 왕립 기마 경찰대로 캐나다 전역의 치안과 연방범죄 수사를 담당하는 국가경찰 조직입니다. 영화나 뉴스에서 빨간 제복을 입고 말을 탄 경찰로 자주 묘사되며 일상적인 경찰 업무도 모두 수행합니다. 9-2. Canada's wildfire season. Manageable, but heat brings risks. Federal officials have announced that Canada's 2026 wildfire season has been relatively manageable so far, offering a stark contrast to the devastating 2025 season, which was the second worst on record. The current stability is largely attributed to significant amounts of timely rainfall across Western Canada, which helped dampen early flare-ups. However, environmental experts are warning citizens not to become complacent. With forecasters predicting higher than normal temperatures and lower than normal rainfall for large swaths of northern and eastern regions this summer, the risk of massive forest fires remains exceptionally high.
In British Columbia, multiple blazes have already destroyed buildings and triggered sudden evacuation orders for hundreds of properties, proving that the threat is far from over. Vocabulary. Manageable. Adjective. 통제 가능한, 관리할 수 있는. The workload is heavy, but it is manageable if we work together. Stark. Adjective. 극명한, 냉혹한. There is a stark contrast between the rich and poor areas of the city. Attribute. Verb. 뭐뭐의 탓, 덕으로 돌리다. The team's success can be attributed to their rigorous daily practice. Dampen. Verb. 물기를 축이다, 기세등을 꺾다. The sudden rain dampened the enthusiasm of the festival goers. Flare up. Noun. 갑작스러운 분출, 병의 재발. A sudden flare-up of violence forced the police to intervene. Complacent. Adjective. 현실에 안주하는, 자기 만족에. We cannot afford to be complacent about national security. Forecaster. Noun. 기상예보원. Weather forecasters predict a severe snowstorm this coming weekend. Swath. Noun. 넓은 지역, 구역. The tornado cut a wide swath of destruction through the town. Exceptionally. Adverb. 유난히, 대단히. The weather this winter has been exceptionally mild. Blaze. Noun. 화재, 불길. It took 50 firefighters to control the massive warehouse blaze.
9-3. U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell hospitalized after a fall. U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell has broken his silence following a recent incident, confirming that he was hospitalized after suffering a serious fall. The veteran Republican lawmaker, who has long wielded substantial power in Washington, was admitted for medical evaluation and treatment. While his office has assured the public that he is resting comfortably and slowly regaining his strength, the incident has undoubtedly raised fresh concerns about the health and endurance of America's aging political leadership. Political analysts note that his temporary absence could create a momentary power vacuum or slow down critical legislative negotiations in the Senate. The public and his peers await further medical updates regarding his full return to Capitol Hill. Vocabulary. Silence. Noun. 침묵. The actor finally broke his silence regarding the recent scandal. Confirm. Verb. 사실임을 확인해주다. The test results confirmed that the water was safe to drink. Veteran. Noun. 형용사. 베테랑, 노련한. He is a veteran reporter who has covered 5 presidential elections. Wield. Verb. 권력, 무기 등을 행사하다. The CEO wields enormous influence over the company's future direction. Substantial. Adjective. 상당한, 크고 중요한. The charity received a substantial donation from an anonymous benefactor. Evaluate. Verb. 평가하다. The doctor will evaluate the patient's condition before prescribing medication. Endurance. Noun. 인내력, 지구력. Marathon running requires incredible physical and mental endurance. Momentary. Adjective. 순간적인, 찰나이. She experienced a momentary lapse in concentration during the exam. Vacuum. Noun. 공백, 진공. The sudden resignation of the president left a massive power vacuum. Legislative. Adjective. 입법에. The committee is responsible for drafting new legislative proposals. 시사성식 해설. 권력 공백. 권력을 쥐고 있던 사람이 갑자기 물러나거나 자리를 비워 아무도 그 자리를 책임지지 못하고 통제력이 상실된 불안정한 상태를 뜻합니다. Capitol Hill. 미 국회 의사당 이름. 뉴스에서는 미국 의회 또는 미국 의회 정치 자체를 상징하는 단어 환유법으로 쓰입니다. 한국의 여의도가 국회를 뜻하는 것과 같습니다. 10. DD India. 10-1. PM Modi and New Zealand elevate ties to a strategic partnership. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has successfully concluded his highly productive official tour of New Zealand, culminating in a historic elevation of bilateral ties to a formal strategic partnership. During extensive and cordial talks with New Zealand's leadership, both nations outlined an ambitious, multi-sector roadmap focusing on enhanced cooperation in trade, maritime security, global education, and traditional medicine. A major highlight of the diplomatic visit was the Kia Ora Modi community event in Auckland, where the Prime Minister addressed an enthusiastic crowd of over 10,000 members of the Indian diaspora.
He strongly hailed this vibrant overseas community as the foundational pillar strengthening the cultural, economic, and political bridges between India and New Zealand. This visit officially marks a new era of deeply integrated Indo-Pacific diplomacy for New Delhi. Vocabulary. Culminate in. Verb phrase. 결국 뭐뭐로 끝이 나다. 절정에 달하다. Years of hard work culminated in her winning the championship. Elevation. Noun. 격상. 상승. His elevation to the board of directors was expected by everyone. Cordial. Adjective. 다정한. 우호적인. The two presidents exchanged a cordial greeting before the meeting. Outline. Verb. 개요를 설명하다. 윤곽을 잡다. The mayor outlined his new strategy for reducing urban crime. Maritime. Adjective. 해양에. 바다에. Joint maritime patrols will help secure the international shipping lanes. Highlight. Noun. 가장 흥미로운 부분. Highlight. The highlight of the festival was the grand fireworks display. Enthusiastic. Adjective. 열광적인. 열렬한. The audience gave the band an enthusiastic standing ovation. Diaspora. Noun. diaspora. 고국을 떠나 흩어져 사는 사람들. The Irish diaspora has significantly influenced American culture. Hail. Verb. 환호하며 맞이하다. 찬사를 보내다. The discovery was hailed as a major breakthrough in cancer research. Foundational. Adjective. 기초적인. 근본적인. Freedom of speech is a foundational principle of a democratic society. 시사용어 해설. Strategic partnership. 전략적 동반자 관계. 국가 간의 외교 관계 수준을 나타내는 용어로 단순한 우호 관계, 경제 교류 등을 넘어 정치, 국방, 안보 등 핵심 분야에서 장기적이고 깊이 있게 동맹 수준으로 협력하겠다는 공식적인 약속을 의미합니다. Diaspora. 본래 유대인들이 팔레스타인을 떠나 세계 곳곳에 흩어져 살게 된 것을 가리키는 역사적 단어였으나 현대 국제사회에서는 본국을 떠나 다른 나라에 정착해 살면서도 고국의 정체성을 잃지 않고 뭉쳐있는 해외 이주민 집단을 두루 일컫는 말로 쓰입니다.
Number 10. 2. India to launch Index of Services Production in July. The Indian Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, MOSPI, is set to launch a groundbreaking new economic indicator called the Index of Services Production, ISP, this July. Designed explicitly as the counterpart to the traditional Index of Industrial Production, IIP, the ISP will provide crucial, high-frequency monthly data tracking the short-term growth and fluctuations of India's booming services sector. This is a highly significant development, given that the services sector has consistently contributed more than 50% of India's gross value added, GVA, for over a decade, functioning as the primary engine of the economy. The index will extensively utilize GST-based outward supplies data to accurately estimate output across various formal service industries. Economists anticipate that this modernized monitoring framework will allow policymakers to make far more agile and informed macroeconomic decisions. Vocabulary. Groundbreaking. Adjective. 획기적인. The scientists published a groundbreaking study on genetic engineering. Counterpart. Noun. 대응물. 동일한 지위나 역할을 하는 짝. The American president met with his French counterpart to discuss trade. Fluctuation. Noun. 변동. 오르내림. The stock market has experienced wild price fluctuations this week. Booming. Adjective. 급성장하는. 번창하는. The city has a booming tech industry that attracts many young workers. Consistently. Adverb. 일관되게. 꾸준히. She has consistently been the top performer in our sales department. Extensively. Adverb. 광범위하게. The author traveled extensively throughout Asia to research her book. Estimate. Verb. 추정하다. 어림잡다. We estimate that the construction project will take at least 2 years. Anticipate. Verb. 예상하다. 기대하다. Investors anticipate a rise in interest rates by the end of the year. Agile. Adjective. 기민한. 민첩한. The company needs an agile management team to survive the fast changes. Informed. Adjective. 정보에 입각한. 잘 아는. Consumers should read reviews to make an informed purchasing decision. 시사용어 해설. High frequency data. 고주파 데이터. 분기별 3개월이나 연간으로 나오는 통계와 달리 매주 또는 매월 자주 높은 빈도로 발표되어 경제 상황을 실시간에 가깝게 파악할 수 있는 지표를 말합니다. Gross Value Added, GVA, 총 부가가치. 한 나라의 경제가 일정 기간 생산한 제품이나 서비스의 가치에서 생산에 들어간 중간 비용을 뺀 순수한 부가가치의 합계입니다. GDP, 국내 총생산과 합계, 경제 규모를 재는 핵심 잣대입니다. 10.3. Iran's supreme leader pledges revenge for slain predecessor. Iran's newly ascended supreme leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei has issued a chilling public pledge to exact revenge for the death of his father and predecessor, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The former leader was assassinated in a coordinated U.S.-Israeli airstrike earlier in the year, an event that originally sparked the current war. In a written statement broadcast heavily on state television, the new leader declared that bloody vengeance from the criminal and disgraced killers is the demand of the nation and must certainly take place. Crucially, he added that this retaliation would not depend solely on Iran, but rather called upon free people around the world to participate in achieving it. This uncompromising rhetoric comes amid a fierce exchange of attacks between U.S. and Iranian forces, casting a dark, heavy shadow over any fading hopes for a renewed diplomatic truce. Vocabulary. Ascend. Verb. 오르다. 왕위 등에 등극하다. The young prince ascended to the throne after his father's sudden death. Chilling. Adjective. 소름 끼치는. 오싹한. The detective discovered a chilling message written on the mirror. Exact. Verb. 복수 등을 가하다. 받아내다. The rebel group promised to exact a heavy toll on the invading army. Predecessor. Noun. 전임자. The new manager changed many rules established by her predecessor. Assassinate. Verb. 암살하다. The secret agent was hired to assassinate the corrupt politician. Vengeance. Noun. 복수. 앙가품. He swore vengeance against the men who had ruined his family's business. Solely. Adverb. 오로지. 단독으로. The responsibility for the failure rests solely on the project manager. Uncompromising. Adjective. 타협하지 않는. 단호한. The government maintained an uncompromising stance against terrorism. Rhetoric. Noun. 수사법. 미사여구. 정치인의 발언 등. The public is tired of empty political rhetoric and wants real action. Cast a shadow over. Verb phrase. A 그림자를 들이우다. 우울하게 하다. The recent scandal has cast a dark shadow over the actor's upcoming movie. 시사용어 해설. Supreme Leader. 최고 지도자. 이란의 독특한 이슬람 신정 체제에서 대통령을 넘어 국가의 종교, 군사, 외교, 사법부 등 모든 분야의 절대적 통제권을 쥐고 있는 1인자, 아야톨라를 일컫는 직함입니다. State Television, 국영 텔레비전. 국가 정부가 직접 소유하고 운영하는 방송국입니다. 주로 권위주의 국가에서 정부의 공식 입장이나 선전, propaganda를 국민들에게 일방적으로 전달하는 핵심 도구로 쓰입니다.